Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's Office Hours. Let me just make sure I'm live everywhere. I had some issues with Facebook going live in the Facebook group. I think I figured it out. Fingers crossed. Let me just jump over there and verify I'm good to go. Today, Waterloo Raspberry Nectarine. Let's get it. I'm a big fan of the sparkling water to a point where my stomach kind of hurts whenever I drink so much of it. If you're watching this, please sponsor me, LaCroix. All right, let's get into it. Hopefully everybody's doing well. Today we're talking about Pricelabs comp set. So if you have not been following, I've been doing a lot of pricing, revenue management stuff. A lot of trainings around that because I get so many questions. So I think the biggest thing that hosts struggle with is getting bookings, right? And the two biggest levers of how to get booked are pricing and listing optimization. I really think those are the two biggest factors. And third is what the property looks like, how the property performs, the amenities, all that stuff that I preach a lot and a lot of people talk about. I think the bigger two levers are how the listing looks, and number one is what it's priced at. So if you're not using dynamic pricing, you are leaving money on the table. We do it for all of our clients, and I wouldn't take a reservation without it. So today, a very small section of the entire Pricelabs setup is creating a comp set from scratch. So that's what we're going to do. I was wondering what to do this training on today, and I had it on my task list to create a comp set for a property that we're onboarding, and I was like, actually, let me just create the comp set today live. This is going to be very unedited, very raw. Please forgive me if I screw up. I've done a little bit of research on the property, but yeah. So let's jump into it. So if you have questions specifically for Airbnb hosting, specific Pricelabs stuff, drop them in the comments down below, and I'll answer them at the end or as we go if I see if it's relevant. All right. So, all right, let's see. I've done a little bit of setup so far, but just for training purposes, I'm going to go through everything and kind of hit the main points. If I set up the comp set from scratch, it probably will go a little bit longer than 20 minutes, but bear with me. So market dashboard is where, so let me kind of zoom out. A comp set is the closest properties to your property, to the subject property. So if you've got a property, this right here is the duplex. It is in Denver, and so this is kind of the subject property. We don't have any listing, or we don't have any photos yet. I've been to the property one time, and our onboarding specialist has been there multiple times. So I've got a pretty good idea of what the listing will look like. So this is our Lake Norman. This is our closest comp that we pay for with Pricelabs. I've went ahead and circled where this property's at. It's over here in Denver. It's not lakefront, so makes it a little bit harder. But I've went ahead and done the work of setting up the baseline of it's the scope, right? It's figuring out what are the locations first. You don't have to do this, but I think it's a little more accurate, because if I can draw a little review around the area. So the property's over here somewhere in this little thing, but it is actually, I don't know how many baths this thing is. Oh, wow, my freaking mouse is going so slow. It's dude, keep up. While I check how many baths, let's see. Okay, so each one is a 3. I think it's 3-2 on each side. So total 6 beds at this place. So this Zillow listing is inaccurate. Anyways, so I've kind of circled the area. I usually don't include places like this, but if I just did like a huge gap around Denver, it's going to pull in all the lakefront properties, and a lakefront property is not a comp with a not lakefront property. Now, if it's like walkable, I could see that. But if a property is lakefront, that property is going to do 6 figures easily. Anything off the water, or even like a street or two off the water that doesn't have like direct access, it might do 50% of that. So make sure if you are around water that you're not comping with lakefront properties or beachfront. Beachfront's a little bit different because you typically would have like shared access points and nobody like owns the specific area of the beach. Lake, you're like, you've got a lot, it's your lot, people can't like come in and out for the most part. So this one is nowhere near the lake, so that's why I've kind of made this very weird shape from the comps. So without further ado, going down here, creating your comp set specifically. Creating your comp set. Okay, so we are going to just type in the address. I think it's a 332. All right. What I'll typically do down here, and this looks a little bit different than the last comp set I did like last week. I'll add. Oh, nice! It actually saved those, which is nice. I'll add some columns here. That give me a little bit more info. Booking window, length of stay, max guest, bathrooms. Sometimes I'll do pets allowed. The waterfront. Actually, let's add waterfront here. This I usually don't do waterfront, but I just want to see the correct columns here. So hopefully this is not too nerdy for you guys, but you should be able to see everything. Let me know if you cannot see this info. I think on my little preview, it should be enough screen space, but I will sort it by revenue. So this is revenue of the past 365 days. So I typically like to go top to bottom, and I have a range. I don't know what this property will do. Maybe like 50 each side. So 50, I think it's maybe 50, 55. I can't remember what the quote is. Let me go see what we quoted this property would do. Once again, I have not done really any prep work for this, so I apologize, but this is how it goes. This is a legit like day in the life of what I'm doing. All right, I've got 2 screens over here. So it is. So the range is like 40 to 70 grand, 40 on the low end, 70 on the high end for this property. So we estimated about 60K. All right. So that gives me a good idea of like what we're shooting for here, right? I don't really want 100 grand properties in here. If we're shooting for 60, it's not comping the right things, which is half the battle with setting up anything in Pricelabs, is figuring out like telling the system what is the closest like 20 properties that we are going to set up, and mimicking literally. I usually like to pick 1 or 2 that is the exact replica, close as we can get. I don't think we're going to get this because Denver, there is not a lot of comps over here. And I bet there's even less duplex comps. And the places are going to have 2 hot tubs. So it's a super unique property in a not very saturated market. So that's why I've included a lot of the Cornelius Huntersville area that is not lakefront. That's why this looks so freaking weird. All right, let's get into it. So I added the columns that I care about. Main ones are the revenue. So revenue is over here to the right, hopefully. Actually, I don't know if you guys, you can see that. Yeah, that column right there. So the top one, about 136 grand down to like 72 in this page. So we're projecting about 60 grand. So I usually like to have like, if I'm at 60, if our goal is 60 grand, if you don't have a projection, you're kind of flying blind. You're driving with no GPS, so to speak. So if we're trying to get 60 grand, I will try and get, 20, 30% above that 60 grand, 20 or 30% below that 60 grand. And then majority is like right around that 60 grand. So like at a super simplified level here, I'm probably not going to include any of like these, 136 to like 80. Those are probably like in a different ballpark properties. I'm probably going to include a lot of these. And let me go to the next page. So a lot of 60s here, which is good. We got some 50s and then down to like 40s pretty quickly. So like I'm going to focus on the first 3 pages here. I'll probably get some 40s in here just to get a higher, the more comps, the better, up to a certain point. If you only have like 5-10 comps, it's not enough. Usually our sweet spot's like 15 to 25, 30, if we can get them, of our like closest properties. So what I'm doing here is, this is interesting. It's got some 1 bedrooms in here. So let's filter down this a little bit. We've got a 6 as well. Probably should have done this first. I hope my freaking graph. Okay, it's saved. Whew. Thank goodness. All right, let me sit down. This is about to get serious. All right. Hopefully you guys are rocking with me. I know this is very nerdy and like a very tedious process, but I've got so many questions, and I'm probably going to repurpose this into my free course, maybe the paid one, because this is exactly how we do it. So typically I'll filter on bedrooms. I think revenue is a little bit more important. I think even more important than that is like the max guest. So this one. So typically I'll just run straight through. I know this probably is not. Yeah, this is actually lakefront. Not sure how that fell into the comp set, but I'll go one by one. Luckily, Pricelabs gives me the link here. So this is a 6-bed. Probably. I wish I had more interior photos of our subject property. So this is, probably pretty comparable. Although this is 6 beds, we will have only 3 reviews. So it looks like a newer property here. This one says 100. Honestly, that probably won't do 100. I think that's still waterfront. So I'll go on to the next one. All right, waterfront. Yep, definitely not a comp. Even though this one does have a hot tub. It's 4 bedrooms, a ton of beds, and a ton of guests in a 4-bedroom house. So they're really jamming people in there. Probably a no here. This one, 99, 100. Yeah, probably not. Okay, so this one is in actual Huntersville. This is definitely not the property. It looks like a condo, maybe. Yeah, 2 beds. Let's see what the interior looks like. All right, love the wallpaper. Okay, and then common areas. Yeah, okay. So, a maybe there, maybe. God, I wish I could. You used to be able to bring the revenue over to the left and see it. I got to scroll all the way to the right. All right, so this one's in the 80s. This is getting into the ball game. 3-bed, 8-guest townhome. I think this is probably going to be a yes here, even though it does have a community pool. Indoors, probably pretty similar quality. Maybe a little bit of a stretch since you do have a lot of amenities at this property. What was this? Summit? Is this the right property? Yeah, Summit. I'm going to include this one for now. I can always come back and delete it later. So how I include it is this little checkbox over here. So that's like saying Pricelabs, yes, this is the property that I want. So this is a 4-bed, 8 guest. Looks like a single family home. Once again, I'm not really looking for duplexes at this point because they're few and far between. I'm going to grab some townhomes, some apartments, some single family homes, and just kind of get enough comps to really look at this. So, all right, so we've got some outdoor area here, bigger house. So definitely more square foot than what we've got here. It looks like. So this one's a maybe. I'll go ahead and include it just in case. What's that one doing? 80. All right, Birkdale. This is probably the exact same unit. This is a 1-bed though. You gotta be kidding me. Did I just freaking close that out? Let me see if I can. I freaking closed out. I don't. This is a fail. Sorry, peeps. This is what I get for just kind of winging it, giving you guys a little peek behind the curtain. But I mean, honestly, this is this is what it is sometimes, where you just like you close out your tab and all your work is gone. I will pick it back up quickly, and then I'll probably have to finish this offline. I don't want to waste everybody's time here. But so that's really, I mean, honestly, like for training purposes, like that is the process. You literally just go one by one of that. Make sure you would name like this Faye Jones, like you would name it. And if I wouldn't have closed out, you would literally just go through like click, click, click. Okay, yep, you've got so like 5. You do that until you get 20 of them. Obviously, this is just testing purposes, and then you would just generate it. And from there, what you need to do is you would filter on that comp set here, and then that updates all of these numbers here. So this right here, 78 grand in this lake market. And then, so I talk a lot about like the macro numbers versus the micro numbers. This is cool and important to look at. So like the entire market for this property, like this is a great, literally almost every main metric is improving. So the average listing does 78 grand, up 6,500 year over year. You've got a higher occupancy. You've got a higher ADR. You've got only 170 more listings. So that's great. I love the Lake Norman, Denver area. Places just crush. The booking window, that's the only thing that's down. But honestly, like that's not a big deal. If we're up 6 grand here, like this is a very, very strong market. So once you kind of set up the comp set like I did, and I screwed up and closed out of the tab, you can filter it on that specific one. So let's say this property right here. This is another one. So this comp set only has 17 listings, but they are doing very well. Right at 92 grand up. Booking window is down for here. Occupancy is down a little bit, but the gross revenue is really the main metric that counts. So this one is waterfront, but kind of how it looks once it's done, it'll look like this. and you will have the correct info. And then this is where the work really begins, honestly, because you've got all of your revenue. Last week or earlier this week, I kind of showed you the main things that I look at on these screens. You got the booking window, the booking trends, price of day, week, booking trends screen here, like what amenities people really care for. And so like what people are charging for cleaning, cancellation policy, yada, 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 all the nuts and bolts of like, where do you really focus your time and energy on to change and optimize the listing. So this is like kind of zooming out. This is our step one. Whenever we, like at the beginning of this, I said there's two main levers, biggest points of leverage: the pricing and minimum night stays, this is step one of that process, is like setting it up correctly to figure out where in here there's opportunities. Like, for example, max number of guests. If we've got a property that only allows 7 guests, we're shooting ourselves in the foot, because for this comp set, 67% of bookings happened with own listings that allow a max number of 8. And then there's an additional 24%, the rest of the bookings happened on listings that allow up to 10 guests. So like if this property only allows 6 guests, I am only really looking at 8% of the overall bookings in this comp set are going to properties with 1 to 7 additional total guests. So like you're just missing the entire boat. Like you're just not even showing up. Your views are going to be way down. So that's one little lever, little data point to throw you guys' way. But all that to say, I'll kind of go to this specific listing, and then I'll kind of show you how to loop it all back into like your day-to-day optimizations, or however often you're optimizing your pricing. So just make sure this is the right property. Okay, so this is a really, really good training. So going to this property specifically for this this specific property. So kind of tying that comp set, all the work you did and I screwed up, into like the actual place. So what we do right now, it defaults to all the bedrooms for this specific property, like this bedroom size. But make sure you change that to the changing it to the comp set that we just created. And what that does, you're seeing in the background, like our prices are way different than what that comp set was. But now we can see like very visually, and this probably looks like a lot, but you can look at, let me just kind of simplify it down just a little bit. Yeah. So let's say let's do the next 60 days just to give people a little bit perspective. So, I could do a whole separate training on this right here, this screen right here. But like this right here, the black price is like what we're priced at. The bands in the back, like the red, the kind of the darker red and the gray, are like the 25th percentile, 75th percentile. So you can actually see like our property, this is 50th percentile of booked price for this specific day, which is July 4th, is like $713. For us, we're priced it right at $1,100 for that night. And then you can actually see we're in like the 75th to 90th percentile. This is like from the band up and down. So we just look for abnormalities, really. So like, for example, this price right here, August 1st, for whatever reason, we're priced at $900 a night. and a lot of the market it booked at like $560. So I might look into here and see like, okay, should we lower this maybe closer to 700, just to get that in a little bit more line. I know for the July 4th, this is actually correct. A lot of the places that were already booked, which is pulling from the 713, they're not the most direct comps, which is why it's important to have the closest comps that you have. So that's kind of a high level. Make sure you have it on the correct selection here. I see so many hosts just make that mistake. Don't be that. All right. Other than that, any questions for the 5 people that are still watching? I appreciate it. I know this was a little bit more in depth, advanced, but God, I just get so many questions on how do I even find the stuff to work on? Nope. All right, let's jump off. Appreciate everybody for watching. I will see you guys next week.